What is going on? I'm Think Tutaku, and this is the 11th and final arc before the 1,000-year Blood War arc, the Lost Substitute. And if I'm being honest, this is my least favorite arc, and probably the worst arc that Bleach put out, or that they put out. I think that they could have just gave him back his powers and been done with it and moved on to the next arc, but I digress. Let's get into it. We're going to be doing the manga, so let's just get into it. A year has passed since Ichigo has lost his powers, and he's gone back to being a normal high school teen. I was going to say kid, but he's up 17, so not a kid. So he's gone back. He's lost his powers. He still has his combat badge, but Uryu and Orihime and Chad have been taking care of the Hollows. He one day runs into this thief that steals this dude's bag. Turns out to be Ginjo. This guy Ginjo secretly has a combat badge that I think Ichigo saw, when he looked in the bag. Eventually, he pays Ichigo a visit to, discuss what, he wants to discuss something. He asks him what he knows about his family, what doesn't, what does he really know. Ichigo gets upset, leaves. He ends up giving him this card. It says execution on it. Later on, Uryu gets attacked by another guy. He doesn't, outwardly show any reishi or spiritual pressure, but he sees like these weird flicks of energy, and he ends up getting attacked and put in the hospital. And then that's the card that Ginjo gives to Ichigo. Then Ichigo finds out that Uryu was attacked. He goes to the hospital. His dad was like, tell him anything that they know, because you're too injured to do shit. And so, Uryu's dad tells him, like, don't do anything. He tells Ichigo not to do anything. He's like, you don't have no powers. What are you even going to do? And he was like, I'll take Orihime home. And this is when he's like, I don't know what attacked him. He was like, it wasn't a Hollow. It wasn't a Soul Reaper. Well, it wasn't a Soul Reaper. I haven't seen this type of reishi. But he was like, it's definitely some type of reishi, but I don't know what it was. And Ichigo upset. He's like, I don't know. He was like, there's nothing I can do. So he calls Ginjo to see what's up. And he goes through the motions to become part of execution. And this is when he pays a visit to Ginjo, and we meet some of the rest of execution, which is, Jackie is this chick, Butler. I don't remember some of these. I didn't like this arc so much that I didn't even bother to remember these guys' names, except for Ginjo and the other guy that's going to show up. Like, I didn't even bother to remember these people's names. It's how much I didn't like this arc. So he was like, he tells Ichigo that the point of getting in contact with him is their purpose is to get his powers back, basically. And he shows him, it's called Full Bring, but I always thought it was called Full Bringer, but I'm just going to say Full Bring. He shows him Full Bring power, and he's able to bring forth his sword using his Full Bring power. And then Chad shows up with one of the other members of Execution, and they said they got in touch with him and told him what they were trying to do. So he agreed to work with them to help Ichigo get his powers back. And then Riruka, another person in Execution, comes, brings this dollhouse, because Ichigo finally agrees to, get his powers back, help them, this, that, and the other. She puts him, using her Full Bring, she puts him in this box. He has to fight this stuffed pig. They don't tell him, though, how to go about bringing his full bring out. He's like, this is something that we've been with since we were born, so it's just a second nature to them, and they don't tell him. Chad ends up telling him that it's the combat badge, to bring out his full bring, and he's able to bring out the guard, what looks like the guard of Zangetsu. At first, he throws the badge, thinking it's like a projectile that he can throw, but ends up having to, like, just fling it, and then a thing will come out. And then after he defeats that stuffed pig, he's able to, like, hear Rukia talking for like a second, and then it goes away. Then we get a glimpse of Tsukishima, and his underling, which he goes to see Orihime, And then Tsukishima goes to see Orihime. He ends up telling her, I was the one to attack Uryu. And then, he goes to attack. He draws his sword, which he thinks is a Zanpakuto, but it's not. And he attacks Orihime. Meanwhile, Chad and Uryu are on the way home, and they're like, oh, he sees the food that Orihime brought him. He feels the reishi on the bag. And then he's like, oh, something happened to Orihime. And then they start to make their way. This is when you see that she gets cut, but not really. It just goes through her body. And then as they go to check on her, she explains oh, it was just my friend that came by. And she's like, she don't know why she's saying it's my friend, because it's not, it's not a friend, but that's what she's saying. And so Ichigo goes to ask Ginjo about this guy. And he tells him, he was oh, he was the leader. And they find this this is when they figured out that they could come together and give their powers to a Soul Reaper, and then they'd be rid of their powers. And Tsukishima ended up killing that dude, killing the people that gave the powers, and then he shows him the combat badge of the substitute that ended up getting the powers. And then as he's leaving for that night, he sees his dad and Urahara, go off, because I guess they also sense that Ichigo's there. And then they go off to do their own thing. And then they completely skip the second training session that Ichigo has, which is him fighting that pig guy and a bird guy. And they just go straight to him fighting Jackie to bring out his powers even more. And then, Orihime calls Chad to tell him, try to tell him about what happened. He's like, it actually wasn't a friend. I don't know why I said that. And Chad's like, what do you mean? So he goes to go talk to Ginjo about it. And then Tsukishima's like, who should I go to next? Chad, or go mess with Ichigo, see how Ginjo would take that. And then, like I said, this is when Chad comes to talk to Ginjo about Tsukishima and his powers. While Ichigo is still in there training with Jackie, and his powers are going out of control. And she wants to stop the training. And so Chad asks about, he's like, oh, can Tsukishima's powers, change people's minds or alter people's minds or anything like that? Or does he have a special ability that he doesn't know about? And he's like, no, it's just a sword that can cut through anything. He doesn't have any special powers. And then, that's when Ginjo's like, oh, maybe it wasn't Tsukishima that was the one that attacked Orihime. And that's when he comes, cuts the door in half, and he then destroys the box that Ichigo is in, and this is when he's able to release most of his... He's gotten his full bring down, for the most part. Not complete, but he's gotten it down. And then, ironclad type, so his... it's kind of like his Bankai, where his Bankai isn't just a sword, it's his entire... outfit that changes as well, part of his Bankai, which is part of his full bring. And then Chad just goes and attacks Tsukishima because he's like, Ichigo doesn't know this is the dude that attacked Uryu yet. And then, they bring him outside, and then he finally figures it, well, not figure, but he overhears them saying it, so he attacks Tsukishima. And he's, not no match for him, but he's not, he's not at full power yet. So he's not really doing anything. Ginjo ends up stepping in, and so does the rest of the execution members. And he eventually just leaves. He's like, we're not going to do battle here. He eventually just leaves. This one, Orihime goes to... When Orihime goes to talk to Uryu about the person that cut her. And then I think this is where Uryu figures out that the same person that attacked her isn't the same person that attacked him, but he doesn't say anything. And so they do their final training session, except it's now going to be with Ginjo. And, they use this, I forgot what this other guy's name is, they use his full bring to put it in the game. That's his thing, to put someone in a game, in an alternate reality. And they train. He ends up bringing Orihime so he can heal Ichigo, so they don't have to stop training. And this is when you see Urahara and Ishin are talking to somebody about, and there's in the anime there's the sword, and you see they're talking about what they're gonna do. And, they show that it's Rukia, but I don't know why they didn't show it in the manga, but they show it's Rukia. Chad comes in to train, by himself because it's shown that he got cut by Tsukishima as well, but no wound, nothing happened, he just got cut by him. And then Ginjo doesn't think that Ichigo's taking this training, I guess training if you want to call it, seriously. Orihime is able to use a new type of her powers and able to block and then reflect that power back reflect that same attack back at the person that did it. He ends up cutting Ichigo's eyes, blinding him, like I said, because he doesn't think he's taking him serious and he wants to enrage him enough to bring out his full bring power. And this is when, right as he stabs him, he's able to gain his powers to see Reishi again. And then he gets so enraged that he brings out his full bring power, which, like I said, every time he gets a new power, he has the dopest outfits, I think, in terms of powers. And then he grabs his combat badge, is able to manifest a sword. And then as he's like, we're done for the night, you can go home. As you go home, Tsukishima's there, he's changed the memories of everybody. And Ichigo, blinded with rage, is like, this fucking guy, attacked everybody. So he ends up running away. He runs into Ginjo, who says that the members of Execution ended up attacking Ginjo, so he runs into them. This is when you see the sword. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you've seen this, the sword that's going to give Ichigo back his powers, with Uryu and Isshin. And they're making their way. Uryu gets dressed, and he's about to make his way to where Ichigo and them are. Tsukishima's minion guy. Sorry, I don't remember these guys' name. I dislike this arc so much with a passion. But he finds Ginjo and Ichigo, and he takes them to Tsukishima's mansion, which is where all the people that Tsukishima changed their mind, or not mind control, but he changed their memories. They're all there to be like, oh, Ichigo, it's okay, the dude's not mad, this and the other. So he goes past them straight to a room with all the other Execution, and this is when the fight starts. Ichigo he slices this dude's arm off, but, Urihime and Chad show up, she heals his arm, and then they go outside and start fighting. That's when Ginjo takes the cut for Ichigo, and Uryu shows up, trying to figure out whose side, since everyone's betrayed him, basically saying that, Tsukishima's a good guy. Uryu shows up, and he's like, why are you standing next to the dude that, the guy that tried to kill me? Turns out to be Ginjo, obviously. Ginjo slices Ichigo, Tsukishima attacks Uryu, and this is when he's like, oh, I made him cut me so that I can go back to my former self because he already cut me one time, and I'm going to take your power. So he stabs Ichigo, takes his power, attacks Uryu, and, like I say, he sucks his powers out. You see here after, takes out the combat badge. And then Ichigo goes into I don't even want to say fit, but he's upset that he lost his powers again. So he gets stabbed by a sword. He turns around. He thinks his dad and Uruhara betrayed him. Turns out it's Rukia. And now, you see this. She's the lieutenant of the 13th. She's the lieutenant of the 13th. He gets his powers back. Again, another dope-ass outfit. He's just getting so many dope outfits. Love the giant sword he has now. Zanpakuto that he got. Then the captain, well, not the captain, but 3 captains, Renji, Toshiro, Kenpachi, Byakuya, and Ikaku show up. He starts taking it to Ginjo, and then this is when you go into things like, Urahara goes to talk to Old Man Yama about giving him his powers back, but I think the only reason why we're talking about giving him his powers back is to find Ginjo, which is it was like this. He was the first substitute, and all the stuff that the badge, everything was done because of him. Which I want to know, how old is this dude then? How old is he? If they were made just for him, how old is Ginjo? If he's supposed to be human, why? I guess they never go into that. Really, it's kind of irritating. But the other Execution members come because they were all in on it. he gives him a piece of Ichigo's power and they all level up, if you want to say it like that. Then the video game guy basically teleports everybody into their own, arena, and Kenpachi just kills the bartender dude in one hit. He's like bored, fucking kills the dude, done. Renji's able to beat Jackie, but he's not going to kill her. He doesn't want to kill her, and he's able to... I guess he just waits it out till Toshiro is able to get to video game guy, and he freezes him, making him, dispel his powers. And Ikaku's out here fighting Tsukishima's minion. I don't know if it's a minion, his underling, his apprentice, or whatever, and he ends up breaking his Zanpakuto by just punching it, and then they just do like a full-out fist fight till he wins. Rukia fights Riruka, and she turns Rukia into a doll. It's plushie, and she can't even hold her Zanpakuto, but she's able to use Kido, and it blows up at her when she does it, and she eventually like turns her back into, human self, I guess if you want to call it. And she ends up stabbing Rukia, and then Rukia gets knocked out, and then you don't see her till the end. Byakuya ends up gravely injuring Tsukishima after his memory's been altered. He's like, I didn't think you'd try and kill me because I've changed your memories and I showed you that I helped you. He was like, but you're Ichigo's enemy and I have to kill Ichigo's enemy. So badass Byakuya still. Ichigo still fighting Grimjow, fighting Ginjo. He just used the Getsuga Tensho and just... But, he goes and it's like, why do you think you were given this combat badge? It's not something special. It's like, he would have given it to you even if you were an asset or not an asset to him. You were going to get one way or the other. They give them to everybody that shows high spirit energy or can become a Soul Reaper. And he's like, have you experienced like what it does? And he was like, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do. It's only supposed to... Really, the essence is supposed to observe you and restrict you. Like, when he doesn't have it, he's dummy powerful, but when he does have it, his powers are restricted and they can see what he's doing. And Ichigo, he's like, what are you going to choose? He's like, you're going to join me and destroy the Soul Society, basically, or are you going to... And he's like, Captain Jushiro's like, he's like, Jushiro planned all this to give it to you, give it to me, this, that, and the other to monitor. And Ichigo's basically like, I don't really care. I already knew he was doing that. Why else? And he releases his Bankai. And then, because they're inside. I was like, why did I... They're inside that third dimension that the computer guy, the video game guy, man, he's like, I can't break that one. I can break all the other ones, but I can't break that one. And Ichigo just straight destroys it after he releases his Bankai. Again, dope as shit. Dope as fuck. I cannot wait. I got a statue coming. I cannot wait. And he was like, I already chose, I want power to protect people. And then this one, Ginjo, he's like, you're not the only one that has a Bankai. He was like, I was also a Soul Reaper. And I'm also part hollow, because my parents, that's what they say, a Fullbringer, or a person that can use Fullbring is someone that had their parent, while they were pregnant, was attacked by a hollow. So, he's also hollow, and Fullbring, and Soul Reaper. So, the captains and them end up leaving. They were like, we did what we were supposed to do. We were supposed to see what Ichigo's final decision was. So we saw that and we're leaving. Ichigo ends up, he ends up killing Ginjo. Or not, goddamn, I keep saying Grimjow. Ginjo. He ends up killing Ginjo. Riruka was inside Rukia's body when they saw that, when Tsukishima saw that Ichigo has beaten Ginjo, he goes to attack Ichigo, and so she pops out of his body and she gets attacked by Tsukishima. He ends up dying. And then all that's done, and then you see now Ichigo with his Soul Reaper powers back. He goes into the Soul Society, and he's like, what do you want? And he basically wants Ginjo's body to be taken back to the world of the living, to bury him as a human, and they're like, everyone's shocked, this, that, and the other, and basically they end up, giving him his body to bury, because he was like, he was just a substitute, and I'm just a substitute, so, and then he's like, yeah, you can take it, and that's basically it, and that's it for That's it for the substitute. I think, to be honest, a waste of the arc, but you know, that's just me. I think it was not, like I said, it's not my favorite. But that's it for Bleach and the new 1,000-Year Blood War. With that, you know, caught up everything you need to know about Bleach till the new arc. That's it. Otaku out.